go. Hey guys.
Hey
The
guys,
screen was black and I'm like, what did I do? And then I'm like,
what
wait
is
a minute. The Discord button was blocked. I'm like, oh, okay. Got it.
uh, week 2.5, y'all?
Woo.
Halfway through week 2.
Which it feels like I've done absolutely nothing because we've had snow days all week this week.
Yeah.
Snow and
I took a
ice
night
on
off
gravel
yesterday,
roads is
so
not good.
yeah. We literally live on the hilliest gravel road that has enough divots to
Oh
like
my
cover the Grand
gosh.
Canyon as it is. So when you add ice and snow on top of that thing, we ain't going, nobody's going anywhere for
No.
days. But
Oh
we
yeah.
stocked up over the weekend. Oh my gosh, it was like we live near the lake, which is like very populated. So you can imagine how busy it is on a
Oh,
day
I
when
imagine.
everybody's preparing for like the snowpocalypse. Like it was this, I get stressful and like I
Like,
don't get stressful in too many crowds, but like
yeah.
this was, oh my God, the
Like,
hustle was just
we'll
insane.
see. And Mom and I went to restock on groceries because we saw that we're supposed to get snow tomorrow evening. So Mom and I went to Walmart to kind of restock on a few things. And we literally went. I wanted a single baked potato. That's all I wanted. But there were no singular baked potatoes. All I could buy
Oh my
is
God.
the giant 5-pound bag of baked potatoes. So I've been having baked potatoes for a while because I could only find the 5-pound bag. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And so now,
Crazy.
sorry, my blanket's like falling on my chair. I should have fixed this
You're
before we
fine.
started, but it's
It
chaos.
happens. It happens to the best of us.
And so,
But yeah,
but now it's like we only. I thought we had more than just 3 days built in, but that's what we get for having the 2 weeks at Christmas. Is we don't have enough built.
yeah,
We don't have as many built-in snow days, which we do have
right.
the AMI days, which are this new concept that a lot of people are like scared that the schools don't have snow days anymore. Most districts do have snow days. They just also have what are called AMI days built in, which essentially is where you work from home. So we still have snow days.
I didn't
We've
know
just
anything about that.
used them all up already. Like tomorrow is our
Yeah.
last built-in snow day, and I'm like,
Uh,
you know,
and it's supposed to snow some more. So
oh
I
yeah,
know
it's
my
gonna be
husband
lovely.
made beef. He's got a dehydrator for Christmas, so
I'm
he made beef
jealous.
jerky over the weekend. The problem is we're out of the deer tenderloin, which is the softest. So we got some beef stuff.
Did
I
it
don't know
work?
what part of the animal it was, but it was so thick. I had to like like
Oh
the
yeah,
like we have a bunch of dogs, so you give the dogs the little bones and they kind of gnaw at it. We're
yeah.
gonna I feel like my dogs right now trying to get through this.
Well,
So,
like, have
but
you
it was soft. So
have you tried? Is it one of those things where you have to slice it really thin?
yeah, he does, and he marinates it for like 4 hours,
You
and
might
then he
just
puts it
like
in
you
the
might just
dehydrator
like
for 8.
slice it like bacon thin, and just to see if
Yeah.
that won't
Although
help.
I'm gonna have him try dehydrating bacon to see
Ooh.
what bacon jerky tastes like.
Oh.
So yeah,
See if
but
he
deer is actually my favorite though so far.
that and like yeah, that would be good. See, like that's what I want for my birthday. Like I just want homemade jerky. Mm.
It's so good. It kind of puts the like I got a couple bags at Walmart because I was like, if we run out or whatever, like if we're
Yeah.
snowed in, I want plenty of
Yeah.
jerky to snack on. And that tends to affect my acid reflux, so I don't eat it
The
at
pepper,
nighttime.
all the
But like
pepper,
I
yeah.
haven't really eaten it much because
Jerky is
I
notorious
was
for being
doing the
really
other food.
peppery, so that's
Yeah, he
understandable.
took out the black pepper on the second batch he made, and it was so perfect. He's made about 4 batches now with different
Oh.
types of meat and stuff. So, but yeah, the deer tenderloin has been the best so far. So we're gonna try to find some more tenderloin, probably more, I don't know, pork or beef tenderloin
Yeah.
yet, but it's been interesting. So my husband's a very good cook, but he makes it look manly because in my head, cooking is like, I don't know, feminine, even though there's a lot of male chefs out there. But I've
Mhm.
never been able to write like a male cook, but it's like my husband just he's actually really good at cooking when he puts his mind to it. So
Okay, so couple random thoughts. One, it's Elvis's 90th birthday today. Just
happy birthday to Elvis. That's crazy.
90 years old.
I saw that
Oh,
too.
guess
I
what
was
I
like, oh,
guess what I found at Bear Market in
what?
Camden the other day. So,
What?
Mom, when she was younger, loved Elvis. She still loves Elvis. But when she was younger, she
Right.
had a whole bunch of his albums, and her absolute favorite was Elvis Presley Live from Madison Square Garden. And she had that on vinyl,
Okay.
and she listened to it all the time. Well, when she got older, something must have happened. I don't know if Mom all got rid of them or whatever. But she can't find them, and nobody can find where her vinyls went. Guess what I
Okay.
found at Bear Market.
You found it, didn't you?
I found it. I'm so excited. There's only one singular song that it skipped. There's one side that I couldn't tell if the marks were like skip marks or not. There's one tiny spot where it catches. But if you can kind of like lift it and like bloop it over the little skip, it works just fine.
Oh my gosh, your mom's reaction to that would have been great.
And so, I have another one of his live albums, but it's not anything from any place that I recognize. But I've got a couple. My goal is to get more and more of Elvis's live albums. Anyway, also, another thing I've been obsessed with lately, there's this guy on YouTube that does these really cool, like, video game mystery solving type videos where he plays through a storyline, like in Skyrim or whatever. But he edits it like it's one of those, like, cold case 90-minute mystery things, and they look so cool, and I've been obsessed with them. Okay, his name is Fizzy, Fizhy, and I'll send you the link later. Okay. But oh my gosh, I'm obsessed.
I used to be obsessed. I got obsessed over this one that would edit the guards like cops, like the show Cops, and I was so addicted to that.
Okay,
it was like
it was like the mysterious letters from a friend, Elder Scrolls V, what is Falcon's secret? There's like so many of them I watched. The Mad Mind of Cicero. I just watched that one today, by the way.
I'm gonna have to finish this content.
The Cannibals of Markarth. I haven't watched that one, so we're gonna click watch later. Anyway, I'm gonna get sidetracked. There are so many of them, and he does them for other video games too. But like our obsession with Skyrim should be observed by science. But that is really Star Wars. Oh my god!
The level of time I have spent playing Skyrim, like when you add old PC, new PC, Xbox 360.
Oh my god!
Xbox One.
360. Like, you cannot be an OG fan of gaming unless you have played on one of the older consoles that took 30 minutes to load, especially the 360 where it was, or like the older PlayStation ones where it was like 10 minutes in between loading screens. And I'm like, oh my god. All right. That was my side comment. Total derailment, but you know.
Yes. All right. So my check-in, I took a night off from editing because it's taking a lot of my time. And so yesterday I sat and I read and finished Ashes in the Star-Cursed King.
Ooh.
So before last night, so the night before last, I had got to the second spicy scene and I started to get a little annoyed because just at the time, it seemed like, well, all they want to do when they have a moment to hang out alone together is just get spicy. And it's not a problem with this book in particular. It's like a romantasy genre issue, and so I filmed a YouTube video about it and I posted on like a group of avid readers of Christian fiction about what real romance is and how it should be portrayed in books and stuff. But then last night I got to the part where first of all, can I just say the boss fight, like, it's not even one boss fight. I was like,
it's like
I was at
2 or
3. 300 thinking I was gearing toward the boss fight. It's like, nope, got one
it keeps going.
This is the boss fight. It's like, this surely is the boss fight. Nope, we've got one more.
I know.
It's still going. But so it was before one of those, and they're in this tent together, and they get a little spicy. It's a short little scene, but I liked how it, like, I skimmed through it to skip through it, but, like, it kind of felt different than the other ones. But, like, I have read this quote to so many people. Okay, and I have, like, it is the best quote I have ever heard in a book ever, and I'm probably over thinking it or whatever.
No.
And it's the part where he goes, "Loving Aurea is terrifying. It required me to see things I didn't want to see, face things I didn't want to face, allow another soul to witness parts of myself I didn't even want to acknowledge. I now felt like such an effing fool that I had never thought of it in that way with that word until this moment. Of course, it was love." This is the part. What else could it be for someone to see that much of you, to see so much beauty in the parts of someone that they hate in themselves?
Okay. Now that we're doing quotes, I'm gonna read you one. It's a non-spoilery. It says, "I have been hurting for so." Okay. By the way, this is the one I'm reading. Book 3 to that. Okay. I've been hurting for so long that I'd forgotten what it was like for something to feel good. But gods, it felt so good that it hurt. It reached past my scars, past my wounds, to the neglected version of myself that I'd long that I'd long ago abandoned. That version of me he knew was right. The version of me he knew was right.
Oh, that's so good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, and so with this quote, though, it was like, finally,
Yeah.
it does include
Uh-huh.
spice, but we have a romance where it's
Yes.
more than just the spice. Like, they see and do so much for each other. Yeah.
Oh,
And
I
it's
love
like,
her writing. Yeah. Yeah,
and
it's
I love
romance
how in
done
this one,
right.
the other quote, when right after they got a little spicy and they were laying there together, he's like, I didn't need to collect more carnal moans. I wanted the rest of it, the way she breathed, the way she smelled, the exact arrangement of her dark lashes over her cheeks, what it felt like just to be next to her. Like, he just wanted to hold her. I think at one point it mentions he
Mm-hmm.
just wants to count her freckles. Like, he just wants to hold her and be
Yes,
with
I
her,
love
and
that.
that
Yeah.
meant more.
Yeah.
At another scene, she kind of does the same thing where he holds her and she's actually scared and he comforts her. And she's like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why it felt comforting, but
Yeah.
it felt more intimate than when we were actually intimate.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had so many moments like that where I'm scared or crying upset and Michael will just hug me, and like that feeling of, and for
Nearness,
like,
that feeling of
for divorce,
nearness,
so
like,
growing up without a
yeah.
growing up without a father, it's like I never
Yeah.
had that comfort from a man. So
Yeah.
like it's my first experience with that. And
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of daughters can relate to that feeling when your dad hugs you, like
I was
in moments when
honestly
you've
just
been scared
thinking
as a
that,
little
like, it's
girl.
like, there's times,
Yeah.
and I've never really appreciated that feeling as much as I have now that I'm on my own and I live by myself. Like, there's times where
Yeah.
I am a true introvert through and through. Like, don't get me wrong, I have went all week maybe going outside and going out around town maybe twice this whole week so far, and I'm perfectly content with that, you know. But there's
Yeah.
times where just giving somebody a hug, just, it's not even about like sexuality, it's not even about like romantic intimacy. It's just that feeling of like your very soul just feels filled with just this contentment of like,
Yes.
somebody, human be like. And I think that's why
Yeah.
when we went through COVID, I know everyone blames all our problems on COVID now, but it's like, I think we had a lot of these problems that we're building for a long time, that when COVID hit, it just was like the catalyst that exploded everything. And it was like one of those
Yeah.
things that I think really hurt a lot of people, was the fact that they couldn't just hug somebody. They couldn't get out without getting in trouble or getting sick, and just be near someone and exist with somebody. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that like
Like,
that
if I didn't
concept of
have,
like isolation was just insane.
Yeah, and like if I didn't have like my mom or my sister or my husband with me, I would be like, I went through this period where I don't have any friends. I literally don't hang out with anybody. You're closest to a friend and you're technically a cousin. And like I chat
I'm
with
the
my
first-
author friend now. But
Hey, cousins
it's like
are
I
the
went through
first
a period.
cousins are the first best friends you ever have, so to be fair.
That is true. That is true. And so I went through this period of isolation, like, and it was right around, like, right before COVID hit, where I had gone through it myself, like, just because that's the life that I lived. And then COVID hit and everybody was going through it, so it was a little bit more easier for me to deal with. And now I'm like, fine. And and if all else fails, like, we have a lot of dogs, so it's like sometimes you can just hug your dog, or like cuddling with your dog, like, it's like the contact of comfort. And like sometimes you just need to hug your mama, you know, or your sister or whatever. It's like, but I just going back to this though, it's like it finally portrayed love as more than just, because if I'd waited a day and read that, I would have been like, that's what love is. Because I remember one of the people commented was like, it's vulnerability and letting somebody see something in yourself that like you wouldn't show anybody else. And then the next night I read that quote, I was like, that's what this is.
Cool. Yeah.
Fangirling. So with that in mind, my goal was to finish that, and then I wanted to reread the revised version of Anathalion. But the problem is, it's the 8th right now, and it doesn't come out until the 14th.
So you're reading.
And the ARC version that she gave me was like a month ago, so it doesn't have the illustrations in it yet. And so I think I may do my comparison of Anathalion and like seeing what the changes were when the book actually comes out.
That'd be cool.
So I went ahead and started Earthquaking, and I'm on page 2. So, but I wanted to show.
And props to Heather for interacting. We had several people interact in the comments consistently, and I really enjoy reading people's things. Like Heather, and then there was one other gentleman I think was interacting quite a bit, and I'm like, I like that. Like,
That's cool.
It was really. I enjoy
we're
the
getting a lot of
interactions.
subscribers.
Oh, by the way,
I
we hit.
today,
I was gonna do like a special little. I thought maybe we could like record like a special video, but like we hit 20, and I'm like, oh, that's awesome.
Great.
That's awesome.
It's not like our third month. Like I am so proud.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wanted to show you.
Ooh.
She draws that.
Oh wow.
Like, and that's before. And she also, can I just say, like, chapter titles. Fantasy books don't have chapter titles anymore.
I know.
And I'm like, I love the concept of a chapter having a title, and so she does that. So it's like, and the illustration is so detailed. I'm just like, oh my gosh.
See,
so good.
Like just the decorations at the top of the yeah, I get that.
It was so good. I know Heather had commented on the decorations in the one that I showed off the book vibes. The video that I filmed was so satisfying.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, honestly, last thing I'll say, and then we can get to your update. But I am kind of like ready for like a palate cleanser, and it's gonna be nice to do Christian fantasy where I like, where there's gonna be like good quotes and good messaging. Because I remember a lot, like there was several moments of Anathalion that hits hard with like, you know, lessons that I needed to hear, or like it's like weird how God inspires like Heather,
definitely,
like where some of her books, it's just like it hits you like God is speaking to you through the book, and it's really weird and bizarre, but it's like this epic fantasy story that's like Narnia, and there's 14 kids, and it's like they're in the real world and then they're in the fantasy world. Well, not all, I think one of them is from the world, Anathalion, but yeah, it's just like, I don't know, I'm just excited and ready to kind of just read something that's like different and basically Christian fantasy, so it's gonna be nice. So, and I'm also, the other reason why I'm not doing the third book is that I am not ready to say goodbye to Rain and Araya, so I need a break. Like, I need some time to process that before I move on.
And the thought, like, and I feel like I'm enjoying, Mishi and, I think it's Mishi. And then,
I always called her Mish. Mish, whatever.
And then, what's his name? Asar. I'm enjoying them quite a bit. Enough that I'm not like upset over the loss of Araya and Rain, which I feel like I don't know. I don't know how this book ends. I know it ends like on like people were upset with the ending. Not really upset as in like angry, but like upset as in like it's emotional.
The first one, you know,
I know.
like ended. So
yeah, and so and the thoughts crossed my mind at least once that I'm like, well, there's stuff going on with Rain and Araya in the background, so it's like, you know,
interesting. I like it.
I don't want to get details, but
yeah, I really love the White Pantheon, and you know me, I'm not overly fond of like gods and goddesses, but for me it feels very Greek-like.
Yeah, I've said that several times. This one has like a huge Greek-ish feel to it, even more so than the other ones. Like it is. Yeah. I can't wait for you to read it. I'm like, it's very Greekish. It's my next read.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because like. Yeah.
I love the gods and goddesses, like the pantheon and stuff, and like that's what I found fascinating about Six Scorched Roses, is that we got to get a perspective of a race that worshipped a different god that was in the White Pantheon, because like Naxia, the vampires all worship Naxia, for those of you who haven't read it, and she's like the goddess of the vampires, but she rebelled against the White Pantheon, so it was kind of interesting to see that. And then, can I just say that her descriptions are like the way that she described like Naxia and then the other goddess that appeared, like it reminds me of like, you know how the Bible describes angels and like people don't realize how weird the angels are actually described in the Bible, or like the classic gods and goddesses and the way that they're described and how they're like really weird looking, like it kind of makes like God like, you know, a superior being kind of thing. I don't know, the descriptions of the goddesses at the two end of the end scene was like really good. Can we talk about how badly that hurt though? Like that whole spoilers, by the way.
Oh yeah.
No avoiding this.
yeah. Uh-huh.
when he was just getting beat.
Oh, I know.
I was
and
losing.
the wing, literally the most descriptive part of that entire book is when she describes how his wings are literally nailed to the back of that wall. I'm like, oh my god, this poor man. Oh my gosh.
And I was just like, and then her fury, but like later on when they're actually fighting and he's fighting that one guy, Simon or whatever, that had that thing, he was like, he would not go down. Yeah. He was like almost immortal. And when he fell, the description
of him, of how he looked, was so intense.
Yeah. Oh, and then how Rain broke his wing and like his bones, and like he was like, I gotta get to move, like effing move, and he's like talking to his body like, you just gotta push through, and he's like, he's not gonna get to this door, and it's like the classic moment when like the good guy keeps getting hit and keeps getting hit and stands back up and like fights, and I'm just like, I just spit everywhere, but like, oh my gosh, I have never fangirled
it's just like
so hard.
It's like the that's so good.
She's easily I love the stories of ACOTAR and Fourth Wing so much, but like Carissa Broadbent is like a master writer. She's like my favorite author just because of the way that she
and it's like
together. And then the Vincent stuff, like I started to hate him and how toxic he was, but I was like, don't give me his
But see, like, and that's where it's like, literally my favorite author that writes vampires is Carissa. Yeah. My favorite author that so far I think that writes Fae would have to be, I haven't read a lot of Fae other than Sarah, so I can't really justify that with evidence. Yeah. But like I've read so much of hers, and it irritates me, and I've said this several times, you can't judge a writer's series against themselves when they're different genres. If they're if they're all basic romantasy Fae, then yeah, you can compare them to one another because they're the same genre. But if they're different genres, you can't compare them to one another. Yeah, anyway, sorry.
No, it's okay.
But it's like, so it's like
Rebecca would be the person who does dragons the best, basically.
Well, I haven't read all of the Aragon series, so I can't justify that either. So it's like so far of the dragons I've read, she's my favorite so far. But again, I've read Aragon and that's it, and I know there's a lot of like, that's another epic fantasy series that like I need to get into. That I just haven't yet.
I read them a little bit, but I don't remember where I stopped, and I have no memory of it. So
I read the first book, and I have book 2. I just have not read book 2 yet, so we'll see how that works. It's on the other side of the Twilight series, so it's like right there.
Nice.
All right. Okay, so, doing well. I stopped at a really kind of interesting scene, so I'm like...
After we get off here, we'll have to do like a reading thing where we just read together.
I'm also, like, was going back and forth between playing Minecraft Java, and then, watching Queso play escape room games, and then I was multitasking at its finest, like before I called you. So that was why my phone went into sleep mode, so it mutes all of my notifications except for like mom and mama in the school. And so it's like, I just genuinely just didn't hear your text. Normally I'm watching my phone, because normally I have it close enough that I can mark open so that way I can see when people text me. But it's like I was doing like 3 different things at one time, and I had no idea what was going on with my phone. So like, but yeah.
You're good.
Well, I think I was eating too. Oh. I was eating and drinking. I perfected my London fog. You know how I get London fogs at the coffee shop? I perfected it. I perfected it at home.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's been my drink of obsession at this point. I also figured out how to make a brown sugar oat milkshake and espresso thanks to a random girl on TikTok that works at Starbucks that showed me how to make it. So.
Oh my god, that's great.
But yeah, so oh my god. I am hoping with these snow days that I can finish it. That'd be cool. That's the thing. But I don't know. I kind of want to start Harry Potter because I feel like I could finish it. Because here's the thing. I got to looking on Amazon, and apparently it's not like my Onyx Storm's not going to ship on the 21st. It's going to arrive on the 21st. So they'll end up shipping it beforehand, and I'll get it the day it releases.
We could do a release day party.
We could. But it'd be in the middle of the week.
Yeah.
It's like on a Tuesday.
We could, like a Discord, let's hang out.
Yes, we could do that. Yeah.
Like we could do a Discord
We could do like a random,
and,
yeah, that would be fun.
A random live stream or something. Yeah, we'll do something.
Yeah.
Provided Alicia and I can get to Target because she works, so she doesn't get off work until it's dark, and they don't like driving in the dark. Yeah. So we may have to get our copy the next day if they're still in.
Honestly, and so, I seriously went through this whole dilemma of whether I should cancel my order or not, or if because I was going through this thing and I was looking, it says arrives on January 21st, and it's like,
wow,
it doesn't show any. Okay, I'm gonna cover my address, but see how it says like the little bar is close to ship. Yeah.
That's cool.
So, and that's where I'm like,
that makes me. Can I just? Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good.
I have a mini rant.
Well, it was just like I went through because let me preference this. There are certain things that make me really anxious, and making a decision that I'm going to regret later is one of those things that make me anxious. Like, my brain overloads in what if scenarios, so I will go through like multiple different things. Like, that's why I have to be very careful when I'm watching streamers, because when they have like a limited time merch availability, like, my brain instantly goes in, I need to buy a hoodie, I need to buy a t-shirt or something, I need to buy something from this haul because I won't ever have any access to it ever again. And it just like makes me really anxious. Yeah. And so it's like this whole idea of like not knowing which version of the book to pick, because it makes me so anxious because I don't want to miss out on the best one, or like I don't want to make the wrong decision or regret making the decision I made. And I'm like, I just had to come to this realization where I'm like, I don't need the gold. It's literally a gold lettering and a bookmark. I don't need to fret over the fact that it has gold lettering instead of white. And the more I looked at it, the more like, I like the white writing. I like all the extra dragons on the side. Like, it doesn't matter if there's pictures because I don't need the pictures. I don't need them.
Yeah, I get that.
I don't need the pictures. I'm not going to make myself anxious over a picture. So I am.
Like, I just want a book to read. That's literally all that matters to me.
I'm 80% settled. I'm 80% confident with the choice that I've made. So I'm like, I feel like 80%'s a B. It's a low B, but it's a B. So I'm okay. I got it. It passes. It's a passing anxiety grade.
Okay, so I have a random rant that goes back to Amazon and books. So it's shipping. It's going to arrive on release day. That's really great. Famous author. Good for her. Can I just say how screwed Amazon does with indie authors? Like, I have had instances where I pre-ordered my books like a month, and like they were supposed to come in at a certain time, and I'm still waiting. Like, and it's like, why does it take so long? Like, for indie authors, like it frustrates me. I have Amazon Prime. Would that affect that at all? Like the 2-day shipping? Amazon Prime only affects certain products, so like indie author stuff. Like, I've gotten Amazon Prime to help with that and figured out that my books are not a part of Amazon Prime. Wasn't there a company that was like, I think it was Spotify that got into a little bit of controversy because of how they were treating like indie artists. So it's Audible, I think. No, it was I thought it was Spotify, and like the terms and conditions and stuff, or like the way the algorithm was working wasn't pushing the indie artists' songs and stuff or something. I'll have to look that up later. But like I feel like that's honestly something that it's like these big corporate companies, all their only focus is money, and if you don't have like 100,000 reviews on something or 100,000 listens on something, nobody cares. They don't care. And like that, I didn't mean nobody cares, but I meant like the companies don't care. No, the corporate companies don't care. And I'm like, it's just so frustrating
Like, you don't get a lot of the extra
Yeah.
features. You aren't able to put your audiobook on several different platforms. Like, there's so many restrictions that indie authors have that, like, the big name publishing companies don't require. And I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah. And I feel like we get like I've had where I posted an ad on Facebook a long time ago that was just about my book Hunter when it first came out, when I first
Mm-hmm.
self-published it. And the ad got banned, and so I kept resubmitting it like there's nothing wrong in here. I'm not going against your policies. And it got banned so many times that I lost my like the number of times you get to appeal it, and so I can't appeal it anymore, and my ad account got banned. So I literally can't run ads, and there's all kinds of little nuances that go with that, like linking your Facebook page to Instagram and doing a shop and like all this cool features that, because your account is technically like restricted with ads, it like affects, it trickles into everything else. And like I can't schedule posts like I used to not be able to because I couldn't sign in through Facebook to
Yeah.
Instagram because of it. Like it's
That's
just like,
crazy.
it's so crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we just kind of take it in stride and
Yeah.
find workarounds on everything we have to. So
Okay. So the one of the main
yeah,
things that I wanted
first
to bring
topic.
up tonight, I saw a video, and it was like one of my, like, those, like, reading type accounts that post videos of lots of other people that come from other channels and stuff, and it was a video that I found the lady that it originally came from. Her name is Sarah McKinsey, and she's from Read Aloud Revival on Instagram. So, but it was really interesting. She had this discussion on silent reading versus, like, read aloud, like, read aloud / like audio listening versus silent reading. And she said a lot of people, when they silent read, they will read through something a lot quicker because their brain automatically skips over the connector words. And they said, like, apparently she said that the reason why they know that is because of how the path that our eyes take when we're reading. That we
I have a lot to say about this because of editing.
and that's what, honestly, I was interested to get your perspective on it because of that. And so she said many times we read things quicker silently because we're like skipping those connector words. But she said the interesting thing and the unique thing about that you only get from read aloud / audio listening, like audiobooks, is like listening or reading aloud, is that you are reading or you're absorbing those grammatically, the way she worded it is the grammatically correct sophisticated language patterns. So, like, pausing at the commas, pausing at the like ending at the period, like putting space with the periods, like reading all of those words. Like, you're absorbing, your brain is storing all of that information.
Yeah.
Because it's forcing you to actually look through it. And it said she's like, this only happens, one of the only times this happens, pretty much the only time this happens is when you're, like, either speaking aloud, reading aloud, or you're listening to it being read to you. And I'm like, I absolutely love this. So I thought it was really interesting.
So, all right, get ready. I've got a lot. Okay, so 100% that is absolutely true. And I didn't know that's where the science of audiobook was going. Yeah. When we're editing, we have to be very careful to focus on what we're reading because your brain does skip over. All you need is like the first letter and the last letter of a word. You've seen a lot of those Facebook games where if you're reading this top percent, like, no, that's pretty normal for the brain. Like, when you're reading a word, like, you can just tell the word, like, your brain fills in the gaps. And so that's why there are, like, typos that you'll miss, especially if it's a book, like when you're editing your own book, like, story. So our brains skip over even more because we already know it. You know
what you want it to say, so your brain skips over and auto corrects it in your head. I've heard, and at least when I was in school, they told us about that too. Sorry.
Yeah, to the point where it, like, even there's been instances where it's like I thought I put a plot or a part of a story or like a detail in there that's actually not on the page.
Yeah.
But like your editor or Michael's told me, like, hey, that's in your head. Like, we need to actually get that out of the story. And so the best way to edit your stories is to read it out loud And when I found, like, for me, when I was going through the audiobooks, I found a ton of mistakes in Hunter through Rogue that I didn't know because I was hearing the narrator read it to me. And so that is actually like a really one of the steps you should take. And I don't do it as much as I should, but I also have the audiobooks that are coming out. And if you don't want to read it out loud yourself, you have like the read aloud feature. They have it a lot in Word now. Like, it's not just audiobooks. Like, they have a lot of features for like people who are blind. And so I'm sure that there's a feature that you could get it to read it for you if you want. I think Heather, she actually I think she reads hers out loud for a portion of changing the medium. Like, if you're editing on the computer and you switch to like a paperback or something else, like changing the medium helps too. But so your comprehension is like a little less when you're reading physically, because like you'll skip over stuff, and the more familiar you are with something, the more than likely you're gonna skip over stuff. So that's why listening with the audiobook or an audio playing of it is actually like, and following along at the same time, it'll kind of slow your brain down and have you listen to all those extra details. So it's like, it's a really fascinating topic.
And it's like one of those things, like, I hadn't really thought about it, but like that totally explains why I have become so obsessed with reading as I'm listening to the audiobook. I don't, there's like, and even she said, like, she made the comment in the video too, is that she finds that her comprehension of the overall story is better when she's listening. She's like, her personally, she said it was better, her comprehension was better when she was listening versus when she was reading it or seeing it. And I know that sometimes you say that you can't always comprehend very well with just listening, and I know I can't really unless I'm like zeroed in. Like, I struggle to do it with just listening. But like, that's why I love having, like, and that's where it's like, some people think that like buying the book and the audiobook counts as 2 copies. I honestly, I've gotten to the point where I almost prefer to have the audiobook as well as the physical copy, because then if I want to switch to just audiobook, if I'm busy doing something and my hands are busy and I don't want to hold a book above a like chicken frying in the pan. I don't want grease getting on my book. Or it's just, I want to have that, I want it to feel more, and it just feels like a richer of a read, because my brain is just like absorbing everything. And I'm like, it was just really interesting. And I'm like, I saw that and I'm like, what could I talk about? What I could mention? And I'm like, oh, I remember this. I remember thinking it was really interesting when I first saw the video, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, like when I was doing that with Court of Silver Flames to get me through that book, like and I was listening to the dramatized version, but I feel like I absorbed so much of that story that it really like stuck with me, because like after I finished reading a book, I can't really like now that it's faded, like I can give you maybe a couple of major scenes or plot points, or like I remember that moment was really intense or whatever. But like with I can't. ACOTAR is one of my favorite books, or Fourth Wing. It's like I'm not going to be able to tell you every single scene that happened in there. But like Fourth Wing is a perfect example. I was using Silver Flames, but like the opening sequence, I will never forget that, because we were listening to the audiobook.
Oh yeah, we were, weren't we? Yeah.
In the car, and then I reread it later, so I already had that in my head. And like with Silver Flames, and like I remember so many details of those books because I was following along and listening at the same time. And it's just, I don't know, it's a fascinating topic for me, and like I probably need to do it more with my editing and stuff, because like your brain does skip over things. So yeah. And like recently, because I've been editing, like I have to look at like what she put on her paper, on her physical paper, and then at the screen, so I'm like going back and forth, and like I can't like actually, like I'm not actually like sitting and enjoying the book as a reader. Like I like then that's what I did the first round of editing with Immortal, so it probably won't be till I get the formatting done and I'm in the proofreading stage that I'll be able to actually read and absorb the story, because I'm just like, I'm doing so much with the editing part.
That's fair.
But
okay. Okay. So
I've got.
I was gonna say, I thought you had something too. I had. Well,
okay, I wanted to spring one thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to spring this on you. So, Sarah J. Maas is A Court of Thorns and Roses. It's obviously extremely successful romantasy series. But this article says it should have copied one element from her first series, Throne of Glass, to make it even better than what it is.
Okay.
And that is, like, so they had a lot of similarities, like 2 phenomenal female characters, epic battles, strong overall cast.
Yeah.
The difference is that Court of Thorns and Roses focused solely on its main protagonist's perspective, whereas Throne of Glass had multiple POVs.
Oh yeah, totally.
And they feel like
that
they
would
should
have
have
pushed
done that more with ACOTAR.
ACOTAR would have been pushed to a whole nother level if they would have done that. It would have been. It would have went. Yeah. It would have went from just a romantasy series to an epic fantasy series, and it would have compared more with the overall, like. And plus, the thing is, you can't fully compare it to Throne of Glass because Court of Thorn and Roses isn't done yet. Like, yeah. Throne of Glass is a 7-book series that she apparently, like, that many people have assumed it is done. But I saw a video or a clip somewhere, like a quote from Sarah J. Maas somewhere that says that she's never really sure if either of those series are truly done because she loves going back to them. So it's like, it's like, it's one of those things. It's like, there's 7 books in the series right now. And it feels done for the most part. And I think part of my review on Kingdom of Ash even said this, that it was like the first book I'd ever read where I wasn't craving another book in the series. It felt done. Yeah. It felt finished. Like the story was done, like fully done. Not like, oh, this seems like the ending of Feyre's story. It didn't feel like that because Court of Thorn and Roses series, ACOTAR, it feels like there's unsettled business. There's some kind of looming darkness in the background that hasn't been touched on, that we haven't got to yet, that's building up to it. But I never got that feeling after finishing Kingdom of Ash. I felt at peace with the series, or just done with the series. But it's like, I genuinely would 1000% agree with that statement, that if ACOTAR would have included multiple POVs, it would have put it more on that level.
Yeah, and for me, can you imagine some of the moments where it's Feyre
getting Rhys's perspective?
Well, yeah,
or
where
even
she's
Tamlin's.
talking to him, and then where they mention, okay, Cassian go do this, or Azriel needs to go do that. And then it's you
definitely
get the dialogue about the plan rather than the actual plan.
Yes.
Can you imagine if you actually included the actual plan moments in there? You see what I'm saying? The bigger, rather than just information from the dialogue.
I get that.
So cool.
Well, there's not nearly as many characters, I would say, in this one as there is in Throne of Glass, but there's enough characters that if you would have included multiple and I think part of the reason why she didn't is because in this series you have 3 different sets of characters, so 3 different groups of characters, all at different parts on the map at the same time. And so it's the only one that felt close enough to doing that is Silver Flames, because you had Feyre and them at Valerius, you had Nesta and Cassian at the cabin house thing, you had is it Lucian?
Lucian.
Tamlin's buddy.
Yeah,
Lucian. You had him going with other people at that one island, I think, or whatever. So you had several different people so that one's really the first time that's really happened, and that's what makes me wonder if she isn't slowly moving to more of an epic fantasy type. I don't know.
I don't know. My phone came on charge, unplugged, so a second.
Yeah,
I had to bend down for a second.
No, you're good. But I totally would. I think personally, that would have boosted ACOTAR to a whole nother level and made it more comparable to an epic fantasy.
Yeah. And it also goes back to what she intended to do with the series. If she intended it to be a romantasy, then that's what it is.
Oh yeah.
And it also goes for little tidbit for writers, you got to think about the POVs and
Mm-hmm.
like first person, third person, and then
Yeah.
like the POV you're going to focus on, because that really can change the
Oh
dynamic of
yeah.
the story and reader enjoyment of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't need to be taken into consideration.
Yeah.
As well as for me, like it's like certain POVs don't feel right, like for this book. And so
Yeah.
you have to also go with what you feel comfortable writing for that book.
That's fair.
But it's like certain ones are easier. Like Sarah J. Maas has done a whole series with like, you know, third person, multiple POV. So it's probably something she's comfortable doing,
Yeah.
as opposed to like first person with one main POV, you
And what
know?
it kind of
So
just, it kind of, like, the way it kind of reminds, like, makes me feel like, it feels like she's experimenting with different variations of fantasy.
100%, yeah.
And it's
And we
like,
all do
that's
that.
how it feels.
Yeah.
It feels like she's just experimenting. And it's like, one thing that, okay, mini rant.
Okay. Mini
Readers,
listen.
readers and fans get too comfortable with griping and complaining at authors. It's their world.
Yeah.
It's their series. If you don't like it, stop reading. Quit complaining and
That's
trying
true.
to bully authors into doing certain things. It's not your series. You don't own it. You bought a
Yeah.
book. You chose to read this series. So therefore, you're going to either respect, like, give him constructive criticism, which is different than ranting and bullying. Constructive criticism means that,
100%.
hey, this felt really awkward, or this character, I felt like this character could have been written, needed more, like, needed more growth, needed more character growth, or this character, you know, this relationship, these couple jumped into the relationship too quickly. They need a little bit of growth. Like, that's constructive criticism. But saying that a series is bad and horrible, or that you need to, like, I don't know. It's just, I feel like sometimes readers get too far, they get too comfortable with bossing authors around. And I don't know if, like, as an indie author, if you've kind of gotten a feel of this before or not. But it's like, when I look at, like, people complaining, and I don't know if this is just a book talk thing, but it's like, there's so many times, and it's not just Sarah, but that's like the one that I can think of at the moment, like Fourth Wing, like, people have gotten so obsessed with, like, if I don't get this specific thing in Onyx Storm, I'm going to be running to Rebecca yelling, and they do the whole, like, like the
Yeah.
like, you know, the, not the Vampire Diary, the originals, where the guy yells Rebecca, like,
Oh.
like they've had
Wow.
that meme where he's like, where they'll make a comment like, if she doesn't include this, me find, like,
It's a funny meme,
you
though.
know,
I
like,
love
in
Klaus
the,
versus
yeah, oh yeah,
Blair
me
as
too,
meme.
I love it, it makes me laugh every time. But it's like, I feel like
Yeah.
people have, almost feels like, for me it feels like on the borderline of bullying, because people are like, if I don't get this certain thing, then this whole book is ruined, or I'm going to be ranting or writing or whatever, or I'm going to be doing this with it, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like,
Can you imagine, like, being this close to a release? Because at some point, like, I had Immortal and it was final. Like, I'm not
Mhm.
making any more changes. I've
Yeah.
got the file submitted to all the places. There's
Yeah.
literally, like, it's too tedious to try to revise it.
Yeah.
Too close to release. And then I had a beta reader, or not a beta reader, an ARC reader. And keep in mind, an ARC reader was like you just read the book and just give me a review.
Yeah.
Honest review, bad, good, 1 star,
Yeah.
5 star,
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Just give me an honest review.
Yeah.
That's all you're supposed to do. And
Yeah.
and she was literally messaging me privately on Facebook, like, this thing and that thing and this thing. I'm not kidding. Hundreds of things she saw that was wrong. And I'm like, I appreciate
Was it
like I was really
storyline stuff, or like editing stuff?
things that she believed needed to be edited or changed or fixed. And I'm like, I had 2 professional editors edit the book each twice. I went through each of those twice myself, so that's 4 times for me, plus all the times I've read it privately and the time that Michael went through it with me. So it has been as thoroughly edited as it's going to get. And I kind of, most of it was like petty I disagreed with, or we chose to leave it a certain way for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Or it was like, just read the book will explain itself.
Yeah.
But I appreciated what she did, and that's great if I had worked with her as a beta reader or an editor, but like that close to release. So my whole point in all this, can you imagine having a book this close to release? And like, I struggled with one person, So, like, being so famous, you get hundreds or thousands of people saying, I want this, I want that. And then what if she doesn't have those things and she knows it? And it's
Exactly.
like,
Yeah. And
everything's
it's
already
just like,
submitted. You can't change
and
it.
it's,
With a publisher, it's even less so than an indie author.
yeah.
And
And
it's
it's
like, I
like,
feel
I
like,
don't know. It just,
yeah,
it feels like people get like, it feels like people are spoiled. Like, I want this, you're going to give me this, or I'm going to hate the series. It's like, read the book, don't read the book. It doesn't matter. Read the book, give an honest review, and go about your life. You're not the owner of this series. You didn't create you're not the creator of this world. So what you think should happen doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Maybe that's just me having being tough love, but it's like not having empathy for people. I don't know. It's just like, but enjoy the book, enjoy the series for what it is, and have respect that literally somebody sat at home one day and was like, I want to write a story. And somebody created this magical world, like these worlds that we can live in our heads and read in and enjoy. Just have appreciation for that. Like, give them constructive criticism if you feel like a plot point doesn't work or breaks the canon. Give them that constructive criticism, but at the end of the day, know that you're the reader, they are the author. Whatever they choose to do, whichever characters they choose to kill off, yeah, you can be upset about it. Yeah, you can grieve it, because I totally do the same thing. But don't be rude. Don't be disrespectful.
Yeah.
Like...
And how many of those readers could sit down and do what Rebecca Yarros has done?
Very few.
In the sense that she went viral and famous and big and exploded. And some of us haven't found that sweet spot yet. But for me, I write what I want to read first and foremost. I've done that since I was 10. So it's so ingrained in me that I literally do not care. When I'm writing a story, it's only what I want. And I worry about the aftermath and the marketing, which has gotten me in trouble, because a lot of times I'm too secular for Christians and I'm too Christian for secular people, and I have no box. I have no place in this world.
You can create your own box. Create your own box.
Create my own box. And so they always say, like, when you're creating content, like I was watching of how to do YouTube, kind of, this is how to go viral. And any type of content, writing, stuff like that, like, write or create that content for one specific person in mind, and then you will find more people like that. Yeah, exactly. And it'll feel more personal. Yeah. And so write the kind of book, and even if that person is yourself, like, you write that kind of book, you'll find your audience, you'll find your people. Yeah. So yeah,
for sure. But, another thing that I had, I saw, was like a group interview, like kind of like what we're doing, but it was like there was like 5 or 6 different people, cool. And they were making the comment that they thought that Sarah J. Maas did a good job with making characters that have flaws, that are flawed in some way. And I think that's partly why, like, because that's the thing, is like, I got so irritated at the ending of Empire of Storm. But for the fact that she wrote a character that at the end of the day, I absolutely love that character. But it's like, that character is human. Like, and that character, like Nesta, she
was basically an alcoholic that was destroying her life. Was the parallel.
And it's
you know what I'm saying?
Like, literally, these characters, we get like, as readers, we get mad when they don't act perfect the way we think our brain wants them to act. But the beauty of that is the fact that they are human. They're gonna make mistakes. You know? Yeah. Like, they're not always, like, Violet and Xaden aren't always gonna have the best communication because they're young adults. What young adults ever have good communication? You know what? And it's like, but if you lived several hour flight, if you lived across the continent from somebody, are you going to have the best communication? No, you're not. I mean, let's be real.
In a war.
Yes, and that's where it's like, I saw a video from somebody that were saying that they honestly thought that Violet and Xaden had good communication. It was just the fact that they weren't with each other every moment of every day. Just because they weren't, like, with each other every moment of every day doesn't mean they didn't have good communication. I'm like, oh, kind of stumping my toes a little bit. But,
actually, my problem with them wasn't even that. It was, like, that they only ever want to get spicy with each other. It's like,
that was my thing.
Want to, like, play chess
Yeah.
an activity or a hobby together. Like, what do
Yeah.
you actually love about each other besides jumping each other's bones every 2 seconds? Like, seriously.
And did
And just,
anyone
like, what else do you like?
did anyone not ever question why there was so much lightning all the time? Did did anyone not question that? Because like
Oh,
there's
at it
like
again.
man, it's like November and there's lightning. It's like or like I don't know, but it's like it's just like it's sunny outside. Why is it suddenly lightning outside? Okay, that was that one.
Yeah.
Okay, I had one. You had a comment about romance.
Yes,
And I can't remember if we've already talked about it.
Okay, well, real quick before that, I was going to do Amazon Prime members can get 2 ebooks for free every month. So, I'm trying to read about it. It's their first readers program in January. So, Amazon First Reads is a program aimed at Prime members that offers early access to new ebooks across many genres, as curated by First Read editors, one of your many Prime member benefits. You can choose to download 1 free ebook every month from a rotating list. Though some months that number is bumped up to 2 and non-members get them for a discounted price. They can be read on any compatible Kindle device. So go to the First Reads landing page, see the full list of ebooks available. When you find a book that seems interesting, click the Shop Now button from the First Reads landing page. Make sure you're not being redirected to Amazon or Kindle on the mobile app, because you won't see the free book option there, but use your internet browser on your phone or computer. And then don't click the pre-order for, and then do the read for free, basically.
Okay. Yeah, so it's like I just pulled it up and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 10 books to choose from. They have the genre, so there's family drama, short story, domestic thriller, historical fiction, women's fiction, dark fantasy, crime thriller, romantic comedy, historical fiction, and romance. So it's like a little bit of each genre, as it looks like.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Like you have like the rules of fortune.
Out there, it's a good option.
Yeah. And it said that it was discounted for non-members. Like discount.
Free. I thought it said free or discounted. Yeah.
Oh.
So.
Huh. Yeah, that's cool. Oh, there's a couple of them that.
Non-members.
Me judging a book by their cover. There's a couple cool covers.
That is so you. But yeah, the romantasy thing.
Yeah.
So back before I finished Ashes on the Star-Cursed King, it was back to that we were making the joke about Violet and Xaden, where it's like all you want to do is be spicy, which is the author and stuff. And I realized it was like a genre problem within romantasy, that you have all these couples that are written and they don't actually, very, very, very few of them that I have read actually have this emotional connection.
Yeah.
Where it's like you love the person for more than just I'm attracted to you and want to get spicy with you every 2 seconds. And it's like, when you think about it, like, why do I love Michael? Why does he love me? Like, the actual reality of what you enjoy with each other and what you enjoy doing with each other. And then I was thinking about how, well, what does it make it different from friendship? Because friends could go play chess or checkers. Friends could go to the training yard together. And I'm speaking in fantasy terms because that's where my brain lives pretty much. But like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you could go do all these activities with a friend. So what makes it different from when you're doing that with a person that you're in love with without the intimacy or the spicy stuff? And I got a lot of different answers about that. And of course, there's the biblical answer that like it's God, like in reality with Bible stuff, like it's like the marriage between a man and a woman like represents like the unity of God and like God's love for the church and like that whole thing. But like in books in particular, it'd be nice to see more of that emotional connection. And like that's why, and then the next night I realized that this actually kind of hit that. It's like what the characters like seeing each other and stuff. And so it's like just the concept that exists so little in romantasy. And if anybody knows of any books like that actually do it well, let me know.
Put them in the comments, like genuinely.
And so that's one of the things that Christian romance does cover, but for me, those don't get gritty enough. Like in this one, it's like his wings got freaking nailed to the wall. How many times are you going to see a Christian fiction besides my books, okay? That's not happening.
I gotcha. Like, honestly, and I had wrote up, when we were talking about it earlier, I had wrote up a couple of my thoughts. If you were, I didn't mean to interrupt you, by the way. But,
no,
like,
I was kind of
with me, like, if a romance is where they go through some type of journey, whether it's like actual physical journey or whether emotionally they go through a journey of like working through their past, their problems, their flaws, as like that one person said that Sarah does in hers. It's like
Cassie and Nesta, basically.
yes, or like the Throne of Glass romance that I'm not going to give names on, or multiple romances within that series, and it's like there are several, and they all go through some type of journey. Whether there's one in particular that's a longer journey than the others, but you get the idea. It's like you have several books of this couple going through very like emotionally, physically, mentally, they're going through this like process of like going together. And I guess that's where it's like kind of a slow burn comes into play a little bit, and I guess that's where like a difference between like a fast romance versus like a slow burn romance. And that's where I think that maybe that's kind of where our preferences are at, or where it's like I want a couple.
Never thought about it that way.
I want a couple that's gonna slowly work through and work like come together at their own pace. And like when you have, and like if there's a book that has some has like several spicy scenes, if the characters have went through a journey to get to that point, I'm okay with that. You know, like if they have if that scene is justified by the journey and the path that they have taken to get there, and there's a whole story behind them growing together, I'm totally fine with them including a spicy scene. I don't need to see it. I don't need to read it, but it's like I'm totally fine with it being there, because that couple has spent so long working to that point where they finally feel close enough with one another to be on that kind of intimate level, like that.
You feel like it's earned, basically. Yeah,
kind of. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. But
I still feel like it should be fade to black, but like, and we don't need the actual spice there. But I get that it's probably not going to go away.
It's more of a preference, I guess.
It's so popular.
Yeah, it's so popular. You're not going to ever see it go. But
completely away. But like, I kind of get what, like, you can imply and have intimate moments and kind of imply like
there's a way of like including things that are like where it's tastefully simplified. You can tastefully simplify things without making it feel like I'm reading something off of AO3. Like there's a way of making it more simple, more like simplified, more intimate, like intimate but yet simplified, where you have that pining, that grittiness, like the want and the need there, without telling me everything that their hands are doing, everything their body parts are doing. I don't need that. I don't need that. But it's like
one of the best fade to black scenes. I had to little tangent here. One of the best fade to black scenes though I've ever seen is actually in Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman, when her and Sully get married. Spoilers for the show, they do get married, by the way. And they're getting ready. They get on a train and get ready to go to their honeymoon. And they've decorated like the train car that they're staying in to have like a bed and like a thing. And they start kissing, and it gets a little make outish, but it's not like explicit because it's historical fiction back in the 90s, so it's not going to get that dirty. But you can see the attraction in their eyes, and then one of them rolls, like covers the blinds, like the back and the blinds of the train, and she goes, "It's getting darker," and they kind of come together and kiss, and darker, and they close another one, and darker, and they close the last one, and they kiss, and it kind of fades, and then it drops, and it's like the most beautiful way to imply that they're spicy and enjoying their honeymoon, and it's so beautifully and so like you said, tastefully done. It's like, because there was flirting, and there was some fun moments, but that was like when did they get married? Like season 3, 4, 5, somewhere in there. Like they've gone through seasons of the journey together. But I like the journey thing. So romance authors, if you need tips, listen to what Hannah is saying. Listen up.
Yeah. Just like if it's like if they just met and by the end of the book they're already, I don't know. And that's where it's like it depends on the severity of the journey that they've been on. Like if you have had a person that literally like went to the ends of the earth and back, or they went through this really traumatic experience or these really intense games, then I feel like them becoming close enough that they're romantically involved is justified. You know what I'm saying?
I feel like for me, I just don't want to read about like
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. And for me, like, I guess I'm not that kind of person because, like, when something dramatic happens,
Yeah.
I just want Michael to hold me or
Yeah.
whatever. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not thinking
Well,
about
no, and that's where
kissing
it's
or getting
like,
spicy.
no, and that's
And
where
maybe I'm
that's,
not that kind of person.
and maybe I just kind of
Yeah.
worded that wrong, but it was like
No, I get what
I
you're saying
totally
though.
get, like, if they're hurt, then they don't need,
There's so many issues.
yeah, and
There's
it's
so many
like,
scenes though
yeah,
where it's like that. I think that was actually the one that annoyed me the most when we were talking about his wings getting nailed to the wall and stuff. And
oh,
then they legitimately had a nice conversation and they
uh-huh,
talked about her mom and a lot of the past and
yeah,
stuff. But like it's still just an hour or two after that, and like realistically speaking, physically, guys are not going to be able to
yeah,
do the dirty deeds with they're in pain. That's not how the body works for one.
yeah,
But for two, it's like it was just a little weird.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I
I
get
get
that
that,
like
yeah,
you thought they were gonna die and it's dramatic, so let's
mm-hmm,
do the spicy thing.
yeah,
But it's still like it just like especially when they're hurt. I don't know, that's such a trope though. And it's
yeah,
like it's almost in every romantasy book when they get hurt, it's like I'm gonna have the characters have a nice little conversation and actually talk about the trauma that they've just
yeah,
gone through
mm-hmm,
and maybe be closed off if like you have a closed off character that doesn't want to talk about it.
mm-hmm,
But it's like I guess I just want to read about couples that do more with each other than when you have
mm-hmm.
romantic moments they're just getting spicy. It's like come on, give me some ship scenes is what I like
Or
to call
like,
them.
if
Like,
anything,
you know,
have moments where they get close and they're yearning for one another, but they don't actually go through with it yet. Like, if anything, they can
yeah.
be, you can have them get kind of like, oh, with each other without like crossing that line of like, I don't know. There's just so many
Yeah.
different
Well,
ways
I
you could
just
take
like
it.
sometimes I guess I want like where you have fun training together or
Yeah,
you like riding horses or you like going out and watching the stars. I'm trying to think of
yeah,
fantasy more ones into romantasy, but like, you know, in real life you would like show a characters going on a date or
mm-hmm.
like, you know what I'm saying, and like other things that you're doing with each other
Or
and you
like
look
a
at him or
couple,
he looks at you
or
and you're
they're
not always
dancing,
thinking about that.
or like they're dancing, or somebody plays a
Yeah,
song
like
for
the
them, or
dancing scene
whatever.
in this
Yeah.
is actually really good.
Mm-hmm.
I did actually appreciate that for that
Yeah.
very reason. Is
Yeah.
like it was actually like a really good dance
Balance.
scene
Yeah.
between them, and I really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
like I know in Rain, we're kind of obsessed with the show Rain. I wish it was a book series so bad. I'm like, I need Rain to be a book series so bad. But like in that one, like he builds a boat for her, and they go sailing a lot, and there's a dramatic plot line going on, and so they want to spend more time together, and so they're going sailing a lot,
Oh, yeah.
like and just. They have a lot of politics stuff going on too, but that's one of the big
Yeah.
activities that they would do together.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting concept. I don't even know what this last article that I had was talking about. I
Mm-hmm.
never, because it's got a bunch of different topics on it. One of the things that stood out randomly that was not planned was, uh, where was that? Business author Seth Godin, I don't know who that is, Godin, says that AI is accelerating the decline of publishing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that was his comment. I don't know, like it doesn't really elaborate behind that comment, but
Mm-hmm.
like I heard about this publishing company that they want to publish like the world record of books in a year
I've
because it's
seen
all
that.
AI,
Mm-hmm. I've seen that.
yeah, based or
Where they're
something.
like, yeah,
So
like AI written and published. Yeah, I've seen that. Where it's just like pumping out books with AI, and yeah, I could see that where it's kind of
yeah,
ruining that process. I could see that.
yeah.
But I also think there are certain things
Um,
that are publishing companies that are doing that are hurting themselves. I wish we
it
could get a
really
whole
is.
nother rant with that one, but we won't.
Yeah. I don't know. This one said something about romantasy, but there's like it's going through like a lot of different like publishing news or book news kind
Mm,
of stuff.
gotcha.
So it's like
Yeah.
um but yeah, did you have any other topics?
No, that was all I had.
Honestly, this is the latest we've ever actually
I
done a
know.
live stream.
I know. I was just looking
So
at the
I'm
time
like,
and
I
I'm like,
actually get to
oh,
have dinner in an hour. Yeah, I'm like, I get to eat in an hour,
hey, there we
finally.
go.
I'm starving. Yeah.
Alrighty. Well,
Well, let us know how your guys' January TBRs are doing and what
yes.
you're reading. We'd love to hear it in the comments and what you're working on. If
Yeah.
you're not reading, maybe you're working or whatever, like working on a
Yeah.
project or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
Or let us know if
and
you're
I'm
snowed
excited
in.
that you'll see updates from us. Yeah.
Oh.
Yep. So I
And
can't wait to
for
delve into
those,
this.
yeah, and for those people down south that are getting ready to have a whole bunch of big winter storms, I know there's a big one that's getting ready to sweep through Texas and New Mexico and a lot of those
They don't
lower states.
care about.
Be safe. Be careful. Try not to stress and over purchase things. Just buy the essentials of what you know you'll need. Don't stress yourself
Yeah.
out. Be safe. Don't, if you're not 100% sure you can get somewhere, stay home.
Yeah, don't risk it.
And
it's not worth
read a
the
good
risk,
book while you're at
typically.
it. Gives an excuse to
Yeah.
stay home and read a book. That's what I've been doing all week.
It really is. Yep.
All right.
Tips for staying warm.
Woo!
Staying warm. Turn on the
Blankets.
oven, actually. Blankets, heating pads. Turn on the oven. I've actually used the oven a lot to keep warm sometimes when we've been a little chilly.
I wouldn't be a facts teacher if I didn't talk about the safety risks of using your oven as a heater, because I teach my students not to do that. So
mostly I did it when Michael would like cook his pizza. I would like open it up and warm up my hands or whatever. So
but like
like
context is important. But yeah.
I don't just turn on my heater.
There's some people that will do that, where they'll turn their oven on and let the oven heat the kitchen, which I can see why, but at the same time, it is a fire risk, so we don't want.
It's a fire risk. I have lit my oven on fire twice. Not the current one I have, but I have lit the oven on fire twice in my lifetime. So
I feel like there's that meme of like, if I had a nickel for every time I had done this, I would have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it's happened twice, right? I feel like that's a Phineas and Ferb quote, and I'm like, my brain runs in old Disney and Nickelodeon quotes, and there's a quote from Doofenshmirtz. It was like, if I had it was either a dime or a nickel. For every time this has happened, I'd have 2 nickels. But which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice.
That's funny. Yeah, basically a summary of that story. The first time we actually lit the oven legitly on fire, we lived in an apartment. They inspected and they picked on us a lot, so you don't want to get kicked out. So if you have dishes out, they would actually complain about the dishes, by the way. Weird thing, even though we do it in the evening, so they'd come in the afternoon. It's like, well, you later. So we would stick the pans in the oven, right? Yeah. And one time there was a fork in a pan that fell off and got in the bottom. Didn't notice it. The next day, Alicia put garlic bread in there, and she just runs and get me. She's like, "Sis, the oven's on fire!" And I totally thought she was joking, so I just kind of let her drag. She was little, so this was a while back. Okay. But I let her drag me in there. I opened the oven and closed. It was one of those like you open, see it, close it. I'm like, hold on a minute, and I opened it and stared, like did a double take, and I was like, "That's an actual fire."
How old was she when that happened?
Oh, I don't know. She must have been maybe it was her middle school, my high school, maybe really she was still, I think she was still in actual school before she got homeschooled. So, but and so I didn't know, and my brain is like, you probably shouldn't pour fire on the oven because it's an electronic and you're going to kill everybody in the house. So I got my mom. Yeah. So I didn't know how to put it out because I was
the only time you can't put water on a fire is if it starts from grease. So if you have like olive oil or oil in like canola oil in a pan, and the oil gets too hot and a flame catches fire in the skillet, do not put water on those fires. But if it's like an electrical fire, or like maybe you plugged in your tea kettle and it sparks and catches fire, you can put water on that. It's just you can't put water on like grease-based fires.
I thought it would because I was like afraid of like electrocuting. Like if something happened with like electronic, like getting electrocuted is where my brain got afraid. So.
You can also snuff it out. So if there's a way to close it up, like turn off the heat and snuff it, like, because if flames get, my brain's working too fast for my mouth. It's
fine.
I gotta reset. Okay. If flame loses contact to oxygen, it will snuff itself out. So that's why if you put the lid on a candle, the flame will go out on its own. So if you don't want the smoky fumes everywhere, you just put the lid on it and just let it snuff itself out. So like that, and like where it's like if you just turn the heat off and make sure that it's completely like closed up, the flame probably would have went down over time. But you never know. But the only thing you can't put water on a grease fire is a grease fire, like with oil. Yeah. You put salt or baking soda. You do not put baking powder because it's like flour based, so it will make it get bigger. Salt or baking soda Fun facts.
I'll probably remember salt sooner than that, but
yeah, that's what a lot of my students remember. Salt first. Salt, or if it's a pan, if you can safely put the lid over it, you can do that too. But yeah.
I don't know why all this fire talk's actually making me hungry, though. It's making me very hungry.
Yeah. I'm getting into my teacher mode, so it's getting late enough in the day that I'm starting to teach people. I haven't taught people all week, so my brain is like, I must teach somehow. Teach. Yeah, okay.
Meanwhile, I'm like editing the articles that I'm trying to read for this. I'm like, stop it! I don't need to edit. I just need to read the darn thing.
Yeah, that's funny. All right.
All right.
All right.
That's been our second session, so be sure to like and subscribe.
Yeah. And we'll see you probably like Sunday or Monday for week 3.
Yep.
All right. Bye.
Bye.